I used to think a portrait had to be perfect before I started shading, and that mistake made me quit so many drawings. Until I realized something. Your outline doesn't have to be perfect. Here's why. If I could go back and start over, I would spend less time trying to make my outline perfect and more time learning how to shade. That's exactly what I would do. But there's something important you need to understand. Some mistakes in the outline can easily be fixed during the shading stage, and some mistakes simply can't, no matter how good your shading is. And in this portrait, I'll show you exactly which mistakes you can get away with and which ones you absolutely can't. As always, I start with two things: the center line of the face and the four main horizontal guidelines. And as you can see, the center line is tilted because the portrait itself has a slight angle. In most cases, these horizontal lines are equally spaced. Next, I divide the portrait into left and right sections. These two inner marks help me locate the space between the eyes, and the two outer marks help me estimate the width of each eye. Now, this part is very important, because if the eyes become too wide or too narrow, the entire face will follow. So even though we're not aiming for perfection, we still need a good estimate. And because those eye marks relate to the horizontal lines we established earlier, they become much easier to judge. For the nose, I simply use the inner corners of the eyes as my reference. And for the mouth, I use a trick that helps me a lot. I find the halfway point between the nose and the chin, then divide that distance in half again. And in most portraits, that's where the lower lip sits. Although every portrait is a little different. And just like that, placing the mouth becomes much easier. Now, here's where I made a mistake. And this is one of those mistakes we can't ignore. I'll show you exactly how I discovered it later. Finally, I roughly place the outer shape of the face. Nothing needs to be 100% accurate, just close enough. At this stage, I add just a tiny amount of shading to the nose, and I'll explain why in a second. I do the same thing with my mouth. And this is exactly where I noticed the mistake I mentioned earlier. The bottom of the nose had drifted downward without me realizing it. And I discovered it because the distance between the nose and the mouth felt too small. Something just didn't look right. So I went back to my four main guidelines, and I realized that the nose should have ended right around this horizontal line. Now, this is one of those mistakes you simply can't ignore, because if I kept shading without fixing it, the entire portrait would end up with incorrect proportions. And that's one of the mistakes that shading can't save. So what mistakes can we get away with? Well, the angle of the eyes, the eyebrows, or even the exact shape of the mouth. Those things don't worry me too much, because as long as they're in roughly the right place, I can adjust them later during the shading stage, and I'll show you exactly how in a moment. The first thing I do is use a tissue to soften and lighten the graphite. And I want you to pay attention to something I'll be doing throughout this entire video. I'll explain it at the end, and I want you to tell me if you noticed it or not. As always, I start with the nose, because it makes adjusting the proportions around it much easier. And when it comes to shading, I want you to focus on one thing: the dark areas. And don't rush. Just because you start something doesn't mean you have to finish it right away. As you can see, I finished the first nostril and its surrounding shadows. Then I move to the other side and slowly work my way up toward the eyebrow. And here's where we can take advantage of those darker shapes, because they're going to help me find the beginning of the eye and even the eyebrow itself. And this is exactly why shading is so powerful. At this stage, you're no longer relying on the simple lines you drew earlier. Now you're focusing on the way light and shadow interact across the face. And that's where the portrait really starts to come alive. Here, I start with the upper and lower eyelids, not because I'm trying to finish the eye yet, but because those lines make it much easier to locate the eyebrows. Since the distance between them is relatively small, judging their position becomes much easier. So I continue building the eyebrow from one side, but at this point, I'm still not completely sure if I have the correct width. Don't worry, I'll show you later how I verify something like that. Then I repeat the same process on the other eyebrow. I lightly establish its shape first, then slowly build up the shadows. And throughout the process, I always pay attention to two things: the angle of the eyebrow and the distance between it and the eyelid. After that, I start locating the eye itself, beginning with the upper and lower eyelashes, while making sure that the inner corner of the eye lines up with the side planes of the nose. With those areas finished, I can finally move into the mouth. And there are a couple of things I rely on to keep both the proportions and the shading under control. The first thing I do is shade the area around the nose, and I try to take advantage of every little clue I can find. For example, there's this small dark spot underneath the left nostril, and details like that make it much easier to find the upper lip. The second thing working in my favor is something we established earlier. From the beginning, I already knew that the corners of the mouth roughly align with the eyes, so now I have enough information to place it with confidence. From there, I simply focus on the shadows, the folds, and the subtle curves of the lips. After that, I move into what I personally consider the hardest part of the portrait, the outer edges of the face. And here's why. At this stage, you still don't have enough information to place those boundaries perfectly, which means the face can easily become too wide or too narrow. So how do I deal with that? This is where the trick that helped me the most comes in. Instead of guessing the outline, I look for dark shapes. I started with the shadow in the cheek. Then I used the darker area above the eyebrow, and I simply placed a few rough marks. Nothing final. Because after that, I can compare everything and decide whether I need to make adjustments. But once I finished the outer boundaries and compared them to the reference, something felt wrong. The portrait looked wider than the original. So how do we fix that? Well, the width of the face depended on the eyebrow, and the eyebrow itself was too wide, which means fixing the outline wouldn't solve the problem. I had to go back and fix the eyebrow first, and only then could I adjust the outer edges correctly. Once I narrowed the eyebrow and adjusted the eye to match it, I went back and corrected the outer boundaries of the face. And that's exactly why I refused to touch the ear earlier, because I didn't want to place it before I was sure those boundaries were correct. After that, I moved into the hair. And here, I want you to pay attention to the lighter areas and preserve them, because those highlights are just as important as the dark values. From there, I moved down into the neck. And this is where I want you to focus on the areas where the light hits. Leave those areas lighter, because that's what creates the illusion of depth. That's what makes the portrait feel three-dimensional instead of looking flat. And now we come to the most important feature of the entire portrait, the eyes. And here, I want to show you two different approaches. Let me know in the comments which one you prefer. The first method is working from the inside out. In other words, I start with the pupil, then I built everything around it. The eyelashes, the iris, the highlights, and the wrinkles underneath the eye. The second method is the opposite. Personally, I prefer the first method, because if the size of the pupil is wrong, you'll probably have to adjust the entire eye, and that's much more work. But I'm curious to know which approach you prefer. And with that, the portrait is finally finished. Now, remember what I told you at the beginning? I asked you to pay attention to something I was doing throughout the entire video. Well, here it is. I shaded this entire portrait using only one pencil. If you found this video helpful, even if you only learned 1%, I'd really appreciate it if you left a like and subscribed. And if you want to learn how to fix side proportions and improve the structure of your portraits, I highly recommend watching the video that's appearing on your screen right now.